The Hog's Die is brought to you by TicketClub.com, your one-stop shop for live events nationwide. Whether you're looking for game, theater, or live performance tickets, don't sweat it. TicketClub.com has you covered. So make sure you're going there for all your live entertainment needs, and make sure you're clicking over to them from the banner at the top of thehogsdie.com.
By fans, for fans, the Hog Style. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
Our guest today was a force both on the field and on the sidelines. There are few people in the NFL and even in the world who really have an understanding for the running back position, like former coach Earnest Byner. And you can find all about what he's doing now at earnestbyner21.com. You can get a copy of his book there, Everybody Fumbles, as well as see some of the other things he's doing, like the Healing Dogs. He's a national spokesman now for the Veterans Administration. Or see the Original Dogs, which is a food, what would you call that, a food...
Snack company.
A snack company. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, we got snacks. We got a bunch of snacks. Man. Sure do. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I would say it's I mean, the website was down this morning. We were talking about that before the show, so I couldn't really give it a fresh look. Yeah, but Mr. Byner joins us now to discuss this draft, which is really deep at running back. And Ernest, we want to welcome you back to the show first. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's good to be back, and I appreciate y'all having me on.
Okay, yeah, and so let's just kind of jump right into the whole running back situation. The Redskins, they have made it pretty obvious. Doug Williams has said it about a dozen times. Jay Gruden said it a dozen times. They want to get a running back in this draft. They've met with some guys like Geis, Michelle, and Penny. Here's my first thought is, if you're sitting there in a room, what is the thing you look at when you're talking to a running back prospect?
Well, there's a few things. One of the things that I look for is, can he play? If he was at a different position, would he be able to play as good a ball as he's playing at the running back position? I kind of watch guys, see if they are actually what I would call a football player. So I watch some of that. You obviously see how much they love the game. You see how they affect others. You also, if you can also look at, can they get yards on their own? Can they make people miss? When things break down. And also one of the other things I watch for, and again, I can go on and on, but one of the critical things to me as well is, does he have the patience to actually set up the run? Does he understand when I look at him, does he understand what's going on in front of him, or is he just running? Some guys, they get lucky. They'd be blessed enough to just find a hole. Okay, but is he setting something up? Can you make this run go, or can you make the screen go when you get in the position? So, those are some of the things that I look for.
I think one of the guys that as you point out, has the ability to get yards on his own, to me, in my opinion, my unexpert opinion, is Darius Geis, 5'10", 225 pounds, LSU. He's high up on my board. Tell us your opinions about Darius Geis.
I like Darius. I like how he plays the game. I like his aggressiveness. One of the things that I was wondering about him was, when was he going to get caught? Because the way he runs, somebody's going to catch him, because he's not trying to go down. He's not going down. It reminds me, and I'm not putting him out there with one of the greatest ever, but his running style reminds me of Walter Payton. Because guys used to say you have to make sure that Walter's down. When you better look at him on the ground before you think he's down. So Darius has that mentality. Darius, I think, understands the game, and I see him different. Some people compare him to Fournette.
Right.
I see him different than Fournette. I think he's a better knowledge runner than what Fournette was when he came out. Matter of fact, what Fournette is now. I see Darius as that type of guy.
Can I ask what you mean by knowledge runner? That's an interesting.
he understands the concepts that they're running. He's setting things up. He's not just getting the ball, and going to a, just, let's say we handing the ball off to the left, and you go over there and you find a hole. Mm-hmm. You can look at a guy and tell whether he's reading and also whether he's setting things up. So he's a guy who understands the different concepts, whether it's a what I call a power play, like you're running power, whether
right.
it's an inside or outside zone, and also whether it's a, I call screens. Screens are basically a long handoff. And what positions are they getting in to make the other people better? And that's what I said. That's what I call a knowledge run.
Well, I actually think that's one of the things that the Redskins really lack, or what you're calling knowledge runners. It doesn't seem to me we're very good at that. The big question with guys, to me, when you follow all the draft boards and all that stuff, and our listeners go endlessly debate this, where is the appropriate spot for him to be drafted? The Redskins are at 13 right now. Is guys the top of the first round guy? Is he mid round? If you were drafting him, where do you think he fits?
I would take him right in that area. I think he's middle to late first round. That's the way I see him. As a matter of fact, he's similar to as far as being able to infect or affect a football team in a way that can help the team go to another level, make the defense and offense and special teams better. I see him very similar to Saquon. He's just maybe maybe a few draft picks away as far as that is concerned.
Well, let's talk about Saquon real fast. And he's not a candidate for the Redskins because he's the top of the draft guy. But
right, okay, I got you.
This dude just absolutely blew away the combine like nobody else.
Right.
Is he really that good? I mean, are we looking at the next Barry Sanders here, or is this guy a workout warrior, or what?
No, I think he's a good football player. I think he's one of those guys who's, like I said, he's a knowledge runner. He understands concepts. He makes other people better. He also, he has the patience. He has power. He plays the game without the football in hand. He affects other people. That's why, to me, he is the best player in the draft. Now whether the Browns would draft him at number one or not, or will he go? He should go top 5 very easily.
Right.
So this guy has all the intangibles, and from some of my intel, I know some people up in that area.
Yeah.
This is the type of kid that you want on your team. He will affect first of all, he will affect the room right away, but also I think he will affect the entire team also.
Well, you also have some contacts with the Cleveland Browns. Do you have any inside info you want to share with us as to what Cleveland is really going to do at 1 and then at 4?
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea. They won't
tell you, huh?
No, but I have some suggestions and I have some thoughts. I kind of feel like Allen is going to be the guy for them. Watching him again yesterday, matter of fact, 2 days ago, the way he plays the game, I think this guy is a football player. He loves the game. And his accuracy issues, some people point to his accuracy issues. Some of that is people dropping the ball. Some of that he's throwing the ball away. And also some of that's on him. But I think, those two guys, and also Chubb. Chubb from NC State.
Right.
He's another guy who is infectious. I think he knows and sees angles from a different perspective. So I think those guys are definitely in play for the Browns, with the first and fourth pick.
Can I ask just a quick? If you had that number one pick, would you go Barkley though first, or would you go?
I would go Barkley.
Yeah, I kind of got that vibe from you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would. Because of all the ways that he can affect the football team, and right away. And this guy, Hugh Jackson needs to win this year. He does. And they also they got Tyrod Taylor, and they got the other quarterback from the Cardinals. I can't remember his name, the backup.
But they have depth there.
They got some people there that can help them win games, and I think Barkley is the next piece that can help this team go from 0-16 to, I mean, you can look at, 6, 7, 8 wins.
Yeah, probably.
In this league,
Yeah. So the guy I'm high on, Steve has been really high on Darius Geis. I've been in love with Sony Michel, watching him run.
Okay.
You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of young Clinton Portis, a little bit.
Okay.
That breakaway speed.
Okay.
Am I right or wrong?
Well, he's a little bit bigger than Forrest. He does have similar skills.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that he reminds me of is Fred Taylor from Jacksonville back in the day.
Okay, that's a good
He ran
comp.
very similar, very similar to him with his size and then that ability to make people miss. And then the speed to take it to the house, man. That's one of the guys that I see him, looking, reminding me of. But also, this guy. The only thing about him that when I graded him down a little bit because he, people they might get on me for saying he fumbles the ball a little. His rate of fumbling is higher than a lot of the other guys. Now that can be taken care of. I'm a case in point with that. Because once I developed the skills and the know-how and also the mind to take care of the ball on a consistent basis, I was able to, so that can be taught. He can learn, that can be something that he can teach himself, but also that's something that can be taken care of. So, but that was the only reason I graded him down, man, but all the other skills, like we talked about with the other guys,
sure,
balance, speed, take it to the house, getting yards out of contact, setting blocks, all that kind of stuff. Sony is one of those guys that, I see him late first round. Middle second round, early, late first round guy. I see him that way.
My issue with Michel is that he had a lot better senior year than his first 3 years, and not having your expert eye at this stuff, it makes me wonder why. I don't know if I want to call it inconsistency. It makes me wonder why all of a sudden he's 2.5 yards better as a senior than he was as a freshman, sophomore, junior.
Yeah, so you think he might be one of those guys who got motivated by money?
Well, maybe motivated by money and motivated by the fact that Nick Chubb was in his backfield and he's playing for a good team. I don't know. I mean, is it a valid concern or am I just nuts?
Well, Nick has been there since they've been there together for how long? How long were they there?
I think they were both there 4 years, weren't they?
Yeah. See, now this is one of the other things that I like about that is that if that is the case, if he got motivated by that, then that's something that I would say I could lean on. If I draft him, if I'm with the Redskins and I draft him, and I know that he was motivated by somebody else in the room, I would definitely use that to keep him on edge every single day. That would be one of the things that I would be able to use to help him be the absolute best that he could be on the consistent.
See, this is why we love you, Ernest, because you have this coach's mentality. I love that.
Yeah.
The next guy, this is my guy here, is Rashad Penny. San Diego State,
Rashad?
over 2,000 yards.
Yeah.
I think he's an outstanding runner. That having been said, he was in the Mountain West Conference, so I don't know how much, his stats are overblown because of that. What do you see in Rashad?
With some, I think some of it is that, but I think his running skills can transfer. I saw, to me, he was he's like a fourth round, to me, like a late, third, early fourth round type of guy. He was a bit inconsistent with the runs, and I think that was because, when I watched him play a bigger school, Stanford. When I watched him play Stanford, he was a little bit inconsistent initially, but then he got into a groove a little bit later in the game. And I think what will happen with Rashad is that the level of play will rise with him when he gets to the team that he's going to be on. I think he'll be able to make his game go to another level. You don't have that type of success as a runner and that's a lie. It shouldn't. It should. I tell you the truth. I tell you this. His skills should transfer. Every now and again, you get some guys that come from and have a lot of yards in college, and it doesn't transfer. And I think some of that also has to do with whoever gets him as a coach and how they use his skills to make him and take him to a different level.
This is a little bit off the beaten track in terms of going down the list of running backs, but how much do you, as a coach and as a guy who's evaluating these people, think about character issues, off the field issues, background? Like for example, Guys to me, he doesn't seem to have a character problem, and he's had a really tough upbringing, famously documented by ESPN. Does that stuff come into play when you're evaluating prospects, or is it really just a tape thing?
No. It's right now. I can talk about these guys and talk about them really glowingly, based on just football. But you do have to, you have to calculate and judge whether the off the field stuff, and if they do have some off the field stuff, how can it either be managed, or have they grown through their process and or past some of the stuff that is in their history? Because you definitely have to, because to know the type of person that you have in your room and on your team is critical. Because if you fail to understand these guys, because eventually, to me, one of the things that I really enjoyed doing was getting to know the guys' minds, to understand what motivated them, but also to understand some of the things that they would deal with both off the field that could affect how they came into my room the next morning or the next day. So yeah, definitely we have to have an understanding about what these guys are dealing with, what they come through, and what kind of ways. Now this is how I always looked at it. I always tried to look at it as how I can help them to be the absolute best that they can be, for the team, first of all for themselves, but then for the team. So yes, definitely you got to bring all of that to, and see a 300, as much as you can, a 360-degree view of that particular guy.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. How long does it usually take you though to get that feel for a player?
You know what? You go on the history. That's why you have the scouts going down there. When they're juniors, when they're sophomores, when they're freshmen, finding out. Getting that intel. Definitely. Getting to know them. Now, one of the things that I really enjoyed was when I went out on the road, to work a guy out. It gave me an opportunity to actually get into his mind some in that way as well. So to me, you find out as much as you can through family, friends, coaches, all the stuff that you really don't want it to be filtered. You want to try to find people who are going to tell you the truth about a guy, but also you want to spend some time with a guy. And it shouldn't take that long to actually get a feel, a basic feel, but then to really get to know him, though, I mean, you got to spend a year and a half with the guy to really get to understand his mind and be able to get him to grow in ways that are beneficial. First of all, again, to the individual, but then you reap the benefits by doing that.
That's some good insight there. So we had one fan of ours. He kind of figured out who we were having on our show, even though we didn't publicize it, and he wanted us to ask you about a particular player. He is obsessed with Royce Freeman out of Oregon, and so that's our question from our fan Tom on Twitter. What are your thoughts on Freeman?
I did look at Royce. I liked him. I see him as a 4th or 5th round type of guy. I like the speed. Mm-hmm. One of the things I didn't see was him actually creating on his own, and being able to set the blocks and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I didn't like some of his run technique. I hate to bust the guy's bubble.
No, it's all
Tell
right.
us the truth. Speak the truth.
Yeah, I like him. I thought he was weak in pass protection. The thing that he did well is that I loved his speed. I did love his speed. I didn't see real good COD, so that's why I kind of graded him down some. And when you see a guy that doesn't take pass protection, I don't know what they're teaching out there. I don't know who's in his ear about pass protection, but if he doesn't take the mentality that he has as a runner into pass protection, to me that's a little bit alarming. That's why I kind of graded him down.
Interesting.
One of the things we have debates on the show, it seems like for years now, and the listeners do too, is Jay Gruden's ability to effectively use a running back. And given his offense, I personally think it doesn't really matter. I think Jay wants to run, and I think to me you just take the best running back and not worry about how he fits the system so much. Can you give us a little insight into how a running back is used in Jay Gruden's offensive system? I mean, he's got a reputation as a pass-happy coach, but he's talked after seemingly every game, practically in the post-game presser, about wanting to run the ball more. So what do the Redskins really need?
I can tell you this, man, and this is one of the reasons I look at guys and see if they can play different positions. If they were to be playing a different position, if let's say a runner plays a safety,
right?
How good a safety would it be? So what I'm saying is a guy, a football player, because if he's a football player, then he will be able to play in any system that comes about. I mean, that's, to me, Saquon, he'll go and Saquon, these guys that we talked about early on, all of them can go and play in pretty much almost any system. Because they'll be able to run. They'll be able to run route. They'll be able to catch the ball. They'll be able to do the screens. They'll be able to set the block. They'll be able to do all the things that are needed. They'll be able to get in the slot. And if somebody wants to put them in the slot and throw them a bubble screen, they'll be able to do that. So to me, that's why I look at that position that way. That's why I look at football players that way. If they can play different positions, then you got a football player. So one of the other things that really, I'm getting off subject a little bit. People always talk about the coaching staff changing their offense or molding the offense around one particular player. That's very difficult for anybody to do. That's why you get the type of players that you get, guys that can come in and learn the system, but also adapt themselves if they need to. Just be able to play the game. So, I don't see a particular runner. I guess to answer your question, I don't see a particular runner that is needed or a particular style. I like the couple of guys that they got now. I like the kid from Oklahoma from last year. He needs to learn more about how. Yeah, he needs to learn more about how to set block. Okay, but I like the couple of runners that y'all got. I would like to if I could get in P Line's if I can get in a room with him, I can tell you this: he'll be a better runner than what he was last year.
I'm glad to hear you say that because I have been brutal on P. Ryan on this show. It seems to me I didn't like his vision. I wasn't sure, when you were talking about a knowledge runner, I'm not sure that he's that. But am I wrong? It sounds like I'm wrong.
I bet he's not. I guarantee you he needs to put more time into studying the concept, what they're running, and also what is happening, who's blocking who. He needs to know every single person that's being blocked and who's going to block them. And see, by knowing that, then also the strength and also the weakness in the run, and where you need, what's going. You can expect if it's a guy that's going to be unblocked, you can run with expectancy. and you know that guy's going to be unblocked. If you bounce it or if you meet him in the hole, you got something for his ass right then. Before he even gets there, you got something for him. Anyway, that was just I'm just telling you how guys, if they are knowledge runners, if they understand what everybody's doing up in front of them. And see, the other thing with this is the last thing I say. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
It's okay.
It's like when a pass protects the call, he knows that guy should know everything that everybody else is doing up there. Everybody, because he needs to know. First of all, who's blocking who, so I'll know who I got, and then what's my adjustment after the ball is snapped, if there is an adjustment. So all of that, knowing who's blocking who in both the run and the passing game, who's got a sight adjust, all that stuff helps the guy that's playing that position help others, but also it helps him to be able to go and play with the expectancy and play the game at a high level.
To get back to the draft, guys, Ronald.
Okay.
Well, we love it. No, we love it. I had one more player to get to before we had to sign off, though. The kid from USC, Ronald Jones.
I love him.
I love him too. 6 feet, 200 pounds. A little different than some of these other guys. What do you see in Jones?
I like what he does. I like that. I like his run technique. What I call run technique is how he sets blocks, but also how he delivers his blows to defenders. I mean, he has a really good run technique. The speed is there, the size is there, the mentality is there for him to block. He makes others better. I like him. Matter of fact, I have him listed as let me look at this as my third runner, right after Guy.
Mm.
He's my third. He's my number 3.
Hey, Ernest, real quick, I was just looking up. Back when you were drafted, you went back when there were more than 7 rounds even. What was that like for you, though, as a player? Because you were a later round pick, but obviously, I mean, the draft was different back then. What was it like for you back then as a player?
I was a 10th round draft pick.
Yeah.
I was just hoping to be drafted because I was married at the time. I married my high school sweetheart, I think, my junior year.
Mm-hmm.
We had a baby. My baby learned how to walk at East Carolina. I was a day 2. I was a late day 2 guy, and I was overjoyed and got a level of peace when the phone call came from the Browns. Matter of fact, I thought I was going to get Redskin because I know Charlie Castle. I think Charlie Cassidy came down and worked me out, if I remember correctly. I thought I was going to be a Redskin, to tell you the truth, right away, but it ended up happening 5 years after that, which was the perfect timing for me. But the day of the draft, man, I can't say I was on pins and needles because I didn't watch it. I didn't have a television in the dorm room that I was in.
Well, but that was also back. The draft was not what it is now. It wasn't a spectacle, right?
No. It was what now? I'm sorry.
It wasn't the spectacle that it is now.
Well, not as much. No, not as much. Now, and obviously it was 12 rounds at that time. I was a 10th round draft pick. And matter of fact, I was almost 11 because I was the last player taken in the 10th round, which was, again, to me was a blessing. But no TV, no watching anything, just sitting there waiting on the phone call. It was quite boring. I can tell you that because I was the only person in the room. My wife was because I gave them that phone number. It was my ex-roommate, so I had to go over there, drive an old, I think a 74 4-door Chevrolet that had a hole in the gas tank over there. so that I can sit and wait on the phone call. And it was a blessing to be able to get that call and a relief because I knew I was going to get some money to be able to help my kids.
That's a big thing.
That's a great story. Your rankings here. So after what it looks like you have Barkley 1, Geis 2, Jones 3, Michelle, Chubb, Penny.
I got Chubb next, yeah, and then I got Johnson. Then I got Michelle. Like I said, I graded those three right there could be interchangeable because that's late. That's late to me. That's late first round, second round guys that I see those guys. And then and then if you go ahead, what you about to say?
Well, give us a late round sleeper.
I got, you know what? This guy, Bo Scarborough from Alabama. I trained him at ING for the combine and for him to go on to the NFL. I think he might be a guy if he can return that form that he had in 2016.
Right.
That's one of the questions. Whether you're gonna get 17 Bo or you're gonna get 16 Bo. And that was one of the things that I preached to him, while we were at IFG this year, that you gotta be 16 Bo. You gotta sell that's what you want. That's what you're gonna give. Now, I'll give you one other guy, and this guy is I like him. He's from NC State. It's Naheem Hine.
Oh, I like him too. He reminds me. He's a great pass catcher. I love a good pass catcher. And he's like some of these guys from New England and like Atlanta, Freeman. He, John Kelly, and Mark Walton, I have right in that third, fourth round thing that I think they're going to be some guys that'll produce. John Kelly's from Tennessee. Mark Walton is from the University of Miami. Last guy, Kalen Ballage. Okay.
From Arizona State. I think he's a guy that when he learns how to run zone plays, I mean his pin pull stuff when they run power and counter and all that. I mean he is he has the potential to turn into a dominant player if he gets with the right coaching.
What round do you think Ballage?
I'm thinking around 3 or 4.
Okay.
Around 3 or 4. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to put Scarborough higher on my list now because you trained him.
Yeah. but see, that's the only thing. I put him, and to tell you the truth, I put him in the 4th to 5th round grade. But if somebody likes him, if somebody is convinced that they can get 2016, he might jump up to a third, 4th round.
Okay.
So he might end up 5th or 6th though. It just depends on who sees him and was he able to sell himself in a way that would let a guy or give somebody confidence that we're gonna get the 2016 Bowl.
I like it. Okay, I have one final question, then we're going to wrap this up. Because I'm curious, because you were a really good running back coach, obviously. What kind of influence did you as a position coach have in the draft process? Were you there in the rooms on draft day? How much did they have you watch film on guys if they were considering taking them on any teams? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, the first time I graded guys after my last year, which was 1997, when I was with the Ravens.
Right.
But Ozzie Newsome called me up there and gave me a tape on Jamal Lewis. He was the first guy who I saw that I knew right away that he could come in and change a team. He could be a running back that could do that. I think they drafted him number 4. I can't remember what they drafted. I think he was
high,
4th overall. Yeah. But he was the first guy that I watched. When I
you made a good call there, by the way.
Yeah. When I watched him, I went up to Ozzie to take the tape back, and I said, "What's wrong with it?" I said the only thing I see is a little bit of stiffness. He said, "Yeah, that's what I thought too. That's the only thing. Maybe just a little bit of stiffness." But that was my first chance at being able to give some input on the running back. But the running back position coach, as a running back position coach, I was in the room. Jeff Fisher called me up there to draft Chris Johnson,
right? To
see if I definitely wanted to put my stamp of approval on Chris Johnson. That was the other guy, but it's definitely a process. There's a lot of tape that's being watched. The things that I've done here with you all, for you all, with grading these guys and listing them in the way that I have here. I had to turn in reports that were written but also listing my guys where I would like them, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, the running back coach definitely it depends on where you are. But on draft day, we were watching the draft like everybody else was watching the draft.
Okay, so they didn't have a hotline to you on draft day.
Oh yeah, no, we had to be in the building, so just in case they had questions about guys,
okay.
they would come down. But most of the time, you've given all your information.
Gotcha.
The only guy that I got called in about was Chris Johnson. Jeff Fisher called me up to the office and said, "You put your stamp of approval on?" I said, "Yeah."
Huh.
That was the only time I got really kind of put in the hot seat as far as drafting a particular guy. And but otherwise, we wrote our report. We gave our list, and they went based on that.
Well, I've always said that, if you look at your resume as a coach, it's just home run after home run in terms of those running backs. So
Chris
if
Johnson,
you put your stamp,
Jamal Lewis,
yeah,
you've done well.
Yeah, when Clinton Portis might be on the lower end of that list, you did really well. But
yeah, it's definitely a gift.
And you have that gift. So.
Yeah.
Ernest, we do want to thank you again for joining us. Let's go over everything here. ErnestByner21.com. Go get his book, I Got It, Everybody Fumbles. The Healing Dogs, the veterans work you're doing. Just, Steve has a history. He was in the Air Force, and, we obviously support any kind of work like that here. And then you had the original dogs, Get Snacks. I wrote that down for myself. Yeah. Everyone get snacks from him.
Yeah, they call the original dog Snack, but they for everybody. It doesn't have to be Browns fans. There's popcorn, pretzels, beef sticks, cheeses, and also we got this new thing. It's the cheese crisp, and it's good for people that are on these ketone diets. It's real good for them. It's the cheese that's just fried hard.
Right.
It's some really good stuff, man. So
you're making me hungry.
Yeah.
Steve, I bought his book. You go buy some snacks.
I have too. Go ahead. This is the other thing that I have too is I have a new book come out, and it's a little bit of a spiritual book, but it's called Fumble Recovery.
Okay.
I wrote that. It's a smaller book. It's a book that will make you think. It has room for notes, but also it has some additional pictures of me as a Redskin, Raven, and a Brown that the people will enjoy. Going back through a little bit of a history thing as well.
When is that going to be released?
I'm actually getting them printed, and I'll have them on my website, ErnestByner21.com, pretty soon.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ernest, always a pleasure to talk to you. We love just your insights on running backs and coaching and everything. So, hope you enjoy watching the draft and everything, and we hope to talk to you again.
All right, sounds good. Thank y'all for having me on. Y'all have a great day.
You too.
You too.
Bye.
Steve, that was a winner of a interview that we just did there. Every time we have Byner on, I just want to keep him on and have him on every day. But
we kind of planned 30 minutes, but
we went over.
But because you just couldn't. It was so good. We just couldn't.
I had too many questions that I couldn't leave on the table. That's the problem.
We probably could have kept him on for the whole hour.
Yeah,
it'd been great.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, what we've learned about these interviews is sometimes they run out of steam, and you got to kind of have to cut them off. But, he was good. In terms of reacting to what he said, to the substantive part of it, I loved his insights into, what he looks for in a running back and all of that. And that was great. But in terms of rankings, Barkley, guys, Ronald Jones, Penny, Freeman.
Yeah.
He had Sonny Michel ranked lower,
which is
than
interesting.
All these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think he kind of confirmed what I sort of thought, which is that you really need to look at who's the best running back and not worry quite so much about
scheme, style.
About scheme. That's really, because I think we as fans and talk show hosts, whatever you want to call us, sometimes we get so wrapped up into that you sort of forget that you need the best running back.
Right.
And I think the theme of what he was saying and all that, but when he was talking about all these guys is that, it's who's the best running back. You know, and by the way, for you guys that have been making out there on the comment section who've been making fun of me for the Geis thing, we had an expert who said he was he was his number 2 back who was mid first round.
Right.
So poo on you guys out there for criticizing me.
Yeah, those guys can kick rocks now. But yeah, no, I loved the whole thing. I didn't know he had worked with Scarborough. So, like I said, and I'm not joking, if you worked with Earnest Byner, you're going to shoot up my draft board because I think that highly of him as a coach.
Well, just listen to you're talking Chris Johnson, Jamal Lewis, Clinton Portis.
Yeah.
It's like a who's who of running backs of the 21st century.
Exactly.
You know? It's amazing.
Well, let's get into the rest of our stuff. We have 2 polls we should do really quick.
Oh, yeah.
So, because we did the 3rd and the 4th round, I did the 3rd round poll just for fun, and my poll was, since the Redskins don't have a pick, what should they do? And I put in 4 options: perfect spot for a nap, order some more pizza, beat the traffic to the hotel, or Bruce mixes up some drinks for everybody. And
I didn't understand the nap thing, okay? Because the nap thing was, the 3rd round is the end of the day.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
way take a nap?
Well,
I didn't get that.
You're not a big nap guy. I'm a big nap guy.
No.
And
no,
I needed a 4th option. So
take a nap.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go wrong with it. Don't misunderstand me.
Right.
It's just a little late in the day.
Now,
that's
I
all.
did
But
not
of course,
get
if you're
a lot of votes on that. I only got 25 votes, but Bruce mixing up drinks won with 52%. I won't even,
because it kind of fits.
Yeah, I won't even go into
fits
the people's responses or anything like that because that was just for fun. Steve, why don't you give the other poll really quickly, and then let's get to our other topics.
Okay. All right. The poll this week obviously was 4th round draft. We drafted Derwin James. The listeners, drafted Derwin James in round 1 and Sony Michel in round 2, despite Earnest Byner just telling us that he's not a round 2 guy. Thanks a lot, guys.
Right.
We drafted the wrong back.
You guys did a terrible job.
Yeah. Okay, so the question was, if you were in charge of the Redskins, who would you draft in round 4? Now, I got to apologize for this because I completely forgot to put the poll up.
Right, we did it last
took
minute.
Alex. Yeah, we did. We lost basically an entire half a day on this in votes, and it showed in a number of votes. So my apologies. But anyway, so the draft choices, the choices we had were wide receiver, Equinemius St. Brown from Notre Dame.
Who I'm just never going to say that first name.
Yeah, that's the one and only time you ever hear me say it. Hopefully we don't draft him so we don't have to pronounce his name all the time. Defensive tackle P.J. Hill from Sam Houston State, linebacker Fred Warner from BYU, and guard Sam Welsh from Iowa. Right. So I'm not going to read any comments because we don't have time for it today. But Alex, as we do all the time, what do you think the fans voted for?
I'm going to say P.J. Hill. I don't know why. I just think P.J. Hill. I would go guard personally, but you know.
Yeah, I would definitely go guard myself, but you were right. I mean, the fans voted. The fans are obsessed with the idea that the Redskins are going to cease to exist as a franchise if they don't draft 18 new defensive tackles.
Right.
You know, and so yeah, P.J. Hill won this by a vote of 49%. The guard Sam Welsh was second by a vote of 30%. You know, I think that was more the position and less maybe Sam Welsh individually. Mm-hmm. You know, St. Brown, the wide receiver, is 15%, and then Fred Warner, the linebacker, brought up the rear. I'll say on St. Brown, I mean, St. Brown's a big guy. He's like 6'5".
Right.
You know, I'm not sure that's really the receiver that I think we need. I'd probably go little speedster if I'm just going to draft a wide receiver in that spot. So I would have voted guard myself. I'm with you, but P.J. Hill won it. P.J. Hill is a bit of a sleeper, undersized, small school guy, very, very, very athletic.
Right.
Hyper athletic.
Right.
So he's a guy who has a high ceiling.
Yeah. I mean, I actually, the only reason I put that linebacker in is I read an article really praising him as like the next big money backer. So I thought, why not just throw him in that?
Because you love that. You just like to say
money backer. I do love to say money backer. So let's move on, though, because we kind of have a lot to get to and not a lot of time to get to it. The schedule came out. Let's I don't know if we want to go through the whole thing, but what are your thoughts when you saw that schedule? Okay.
Yeah, we'll do on a later show sort of a game-by-game prediction, and when we have our
full crew.
We have our 2 slugs who didn't skip the show. You know
who skips an interview with
Earnest Byner.
With Earnest Byner.
Come on, guys.
Come on.
Jamal and Sean, we got to criticize you for that. That's crazy.
Jeez.
We had Earnest freaking Byner on, and you guys slept through it.
Which is, by the way, how I have him saved in my phone is Earnest freaking Byner.
Yeah, there you go. But it's schedule. Okay. What struck me immediately about the schedule is that it's backloaded with away games.
Right.
You know, you've got 4 of the last 6 games are away games at Dallas, at Philly, at Jacksonville.
That's brutal.
At Tennessee. Yeah, so there's a bunch of trips. There's no West Coast trips this time, but we've got a really front-loaded home schedule. The home schedule is front-loaded, and then the away schedule is backloaded. That struck me. The other thing that struck me is we've got a pretty decent draw for the first 3 games.
Right.
At Arizona Cardinals, Colts at home, and then the Packers, tough game, okay, but that's also in D.C., or in Raleigh, Maryland, rather.
Right.
The bye is early. Don't like that. My final observation here that struck me is we don't have a lot of primetime games, which is good. We've got 2 Monday night football games, and then what's becoming an annual tradition at this point, Cowboys in Dallas on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah. There's 3 Thanksgivings in a row, I think, is what this makes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm glad to see more of the 1 p.m. Sunday starts because I think the Redskins play better for some reason.
They do.
That's just my weird feeling. I may be wrong.
No, it's not. It's not.
Thought.
I mean, they've gone through and broken down the schedule in the past, and they do much better at 1 p.m. on a Monday or on a Sunday than on primetime.
And plus, selfishly, you guys don't understand how hard it is to do these shows, and we've got Sunday night games.
Oh, it's
so
awful.
Just from a selfish standpoint, I'm really glad the Sunday. It's all about us at the end of the day.
Right.
So.
Well, I'm not happy because the game against the Saints is right before my birthday, so that's going to be a pain in the butt. Doing the show, at 1 a.m. on my birthday. But, anyway.
It is what it is, man.
It is. I hate that early start, or the early bye. Sorry, not the early start. I don't even think that you should have a bye week exist that early in a regular season. But it's the NFL just doing what it does. So
the schedule is so hard to put together. I mean, I agree with you. I don't really see the point in having a bye that early, but maybe the massive algorithm that is scheduling requires it. I don't know, because there's TV considerations with this. They can't just pack all the buys into a small period of time and take all the good games away. The TV networks would freak out, and quite honestly, the NFL cares more about that than it does about player safety or anything else.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know, and
it has to do with that.
Maybe on another show we'll get into a discussion of that kind of stuff because we had a fun discussion on our blog about it, going back and forth about should they have a second bye week, all that kind of stuff. But maybe we'll save that for another day.
Well, it may be an It's Just Business show topic, too.
If it is, let me know. I might want to pop on for that.
Okay. Maybe tomorrow. So,
okay, maybe not, because I got a busy thing, family in town.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm always sorry when my family's in town.
Your schedule thoughts.
The only other thing that kind of stands out to me is this is a gauntlet. We just I can't remember the last time the Redskins had a easy schedule coming out.
It always seems like
it seems like we're in the top 5 toughest schedules. So
I can talk to that too, actually. Yeah. Let me find it here. I was a little bit unprepared. I should have.
No, it's all right. I think this year we're
okay.
No,
I got it.
Right?
Here it is. Okay, yeah. Well, Mike Clay, who is NFL Network, or I'm sorry, ESPN Fantasy Football.
Yeah.
Of course, now the chart isn't coming up. But he rank ordered
the
schedules by strength of roster. Okay.
Interesting.
And here.
So instead of the
folks.
normal way where it's like here based off everyone's win-loss percentage, which is how we traditionally do it.
Yeah, okay, I'm having technological problems. But the bottom line is, I can't read all the list of names because it's not coming up. But by that measure, and I don't know how he's measuring roster strength, whether it's his opinion or he's got some kind of metric or what. But by that measure, the Redskins, here it is. The Redskins were way down at 30, meaning they have the 3rd hardest schedule in the league by this measure. And, of course, can you guess what team is number 1?
It's always the Patriots.
Always. They have the easiest schedule in the league.
Every year they have the easy. And, okay, yeah, you play in a dog shit conference. So, you know, that's not surprising. But, yeah, that's the one thing I've always said about the Patriots dynasty that should get counted against them. They literally play the easiest conference in the league.
Yeah, but you know what, Alex? I mean, I did an article last week. You know, that went into depth about winning percentages and all of that. And it was this week. Was it this week?
I think that was last week.
What you will notice is that the Patriots also had consistently over the years have had the highest winning percentage against winning teams.
That's true.
And so, yes, they have consistently easy schedule, and somehow the Redskins get hammered every year. Part of that is we have a tough division. But New England has beaten more winning teams than any other team over whatever period you wanna go over.
Fair enough.
So, yeah.
Fair enough. All right. I don't have any other thoughts on the schedule since we're kind of just breezing through that part.
We'll do more schedule later.
Yeah. We'll save that for after the draft. We have time to talk about the schedule.
Yeah.
But there is one thing that came out this week. Well, there's two stories that came out this week that I thought were hilarious in that Redskins sad clown way. The first was Dan Snyder sending a photo of himself autographed to a fan who was complaining about the loss of Kirk Cousins or not asking them to re-sign Kirk Cousins. That's just funny. I don't know if we really want to say anything other than that it's kind of funny that Snyder would send an autograph of himself.
That's kind of like an FU, isn't it?
A little bit. Also, if you look at the photo, his suit doesn't fit right.
I didn't notice that.
Go back and look. There's something wrong about his suit.
Dan, get a better tailor.
Yeah,
apparently.
yeah, you really should have a great tailor, Dan.
Because I know you have a tailor. You're a billionaire. You must have a.
Do you think he has
tailor.
a live-in tailor?
I hope not.
Okay, but let's go into the real story, and that was that the USA Today did a ranking of GMs by asking agents their opinions, and they basically said there's about two things: what team is best prepared for the free agency period, and then what GMs you respect and which do you trust the least.
How did the Redskins fare in this, Alex?
Well, Steve, I'm glad you asked. Washington ranked third worst in terms of NFL offseason preparedness. Third. We were better than the Bengals and the Browns, who were 1 and 2, respectively.
How is it possible to not be prepared for the offseason and for contract negotiations? What do you guys do? It's your job.
Right.
You do it full-time every day.
That's all you do.
How on earth are you not prepared? And I do think I have been one on this show to defend Bruce Allen in a sense, in that I have always said, yeah, we haven't had the results, but I'm not sure he's quite as much of a disaster as a lot of people think. But this poll to me is damning, man.
Oh yeah, well,
because this is professional agents voting on this.
Right.
This isn't a bunch of Yahoo fans who don't know what they're talking about.
They asked 25 agents their opinions.
Yeah.
The other thing, and this is even worse, Bruce Allen is the least trusted front office man, GM, whatever you want to call him, of any in the league.
Over Mike Tannenbaum from the Dolphins, who's been
Right.
a complete disaster. John Elway, who's been a disaster, at least in terms of quarterback selection. And then the Bengals owner, Mike Brown, who's been awful himself. So the idea that Bruce Allen is the least trustworthy, this is an eye-opening poll for me.
Yeah, and I listened to an interview with the guy who did the poll, Steve. He was on 106.7, and, I just kind of sit there and listen to sports talk when I'm at work and nothing's going on. This guy here's the thing that he said that really gets on my nerves. What agents said about Bruce Allen is Bruce Allen goes back on his word with players all the time. And I don't know how you feel about this, Steve, but I'm a person who, if I say I'm going to do something, I try like hell to stick to what I say I'm going to do and, keep to my word, for lack of a better term. I never say, I give you my word, I'm going to do this. I'm not, from the 1800s, but
I can give you from an attorney's perspective.
Yeah.
There have been times when two things. One, if you have to go back on your word on something like this, as the attorney, you can always sort of blame the client.
Sure.
And within a coordinated way. If you have to change something, you call the other attorney and you may say, listen, I wanted to give you this point, but the client disapproved it. Sorry.
Right.
And kind of shift the blame on it. So it's a little easier for attorneys to do it. But sometimes also some of this stuff is planned. Sometimes
Right.
you may intentionally, tell them something and then intentionally do the opposite just as a tactic. But that's negotiating. That's, that's for attorneys and stuff. I think the idea that the agents voted him least trustworthy, man, that says a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't even know what to think about that. I mean, maybe he is as bad as you guys think. Maybe he does need to be run out by the rails, on this.
Well, and I understand your point about the contracts and negotiating tactics, but
and there's business tactics.
Yeah.
You may intentionally give on a big thing to get a little thing. You may stick up for a big point. Because you have to compromise down to another point. That kind of thing. You may tell them one thing knowing that the client said we have to go the other way.
Right.
But that's just standard stuff. The idea that the agents don't trust Bruce Allen more than any other GM in the league.
But
I don't even know.
But my point was going to be that in the end, these are people you're going to have in your building, ideally. And if you're going back on your word with people who are going to be seeing you every day, that's a big issue. That's a big problem in my book. Now maybe he does this as his, he burns every bridge after he's crossed it thing, and we know that about him. But it really is aggravating to kind of, one, even though we make fun of Bruce Allen, and, I'm pretty critical of him, you don't want to be the team on that list, no matter how much you might not like that guy. I don't want to see the Redskins being labeled as a joke. I want to see him succeed. You don't want Bruce Allen on that list. And this, coming off of those rumors that Dan was already mad about something Bruce Allen did.
I thought that was a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah, but this doesn't help that. You have to at least admit that this kind of just goes to the whole Bruce Allen isn't respected question.
Yeah, well, there were two teams that surprised me on the best list, by the way.
Yeah.
The best list with the contract negotiation preparation, the number one team was the 49ers. Eagles, Patriots, Broncos, Packers. The 49ers really surprised me because the 49ers have stunk.
Right, but they just got John Lynch a year ago, so...
Yeah, so maybe that's the reason. And then for the respect the GM the most, it's Ozzie Newsome, no surprise. You just heard Earnest Byner talk about Ozzie Newsome. Bill Belichick, no surprise. Seahawks GM John Snyder, no surprise. Colts GM Chris Ballard. That surprises me.
Yeah, that does.
Because, again, the Colts have been awful, and I realized he wasn't the GM, when Peyton was there. But I really thought, the Colts.
Yeah, they're not a well-built team. That there's a lot of stuff
I think
wrong with them.
they're doing their damnedest to ruin Andrew Luck's career, I think, and I blame that on the GM. Steelers, no surprise. Rams, no surprise.
Right.
Considering what they built. So the Colts and the 49ers surprised me on that list. And I was surprised that Bruce Allen was last. I could see bottom third or something. I didn't think he was going to be at the end of
I mean, I could have seen bottom 10 easily.
Yeah.
And maybe even bottom 5. I would not have expected you to be number 1 worst, least trusted, number 3 least prepared. The least prepared thing also, I've heard a lot of people make a lot of points about it, and it really does confuse me because, like you said, it's coming. I mean,
it's not a surprise.
And maybe it kind of goes into that thing I've talked about where this team doesn't have a vision for what it wants to be anymore. And like it or not, when Scott McCloughan was here, you had a vision. You knew exactly what kind of team he wanted to build.
I have to wonder if maybe the whole Kirk Cousins contract negotiation garbage is affecting the rankings on this.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
I know, like our buddy Rich from It's Just Business doesn't blame the front office quite as much as I do, and some of you don't either.
People go back and forth on that. That's fine.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no doubt in my mind, in my view, that the Redskins front office completely botched the Cousins negotiations going back 2 years.
Yeah.
I wonder if that has something to do with this because it was very visible. It was in front of the entire league.
Right.
Maybe that. I don't know. It's just speculation.
I think you have that. I think the whole way that the whole Scott McCloughan departure went down,
because we've talked about that on this show.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. It was a PR cluster F.
Yeah.
And, that's not a good look. I think we had the fact that we keep on letting talent walk away from this team probably also isn't good. I know a lot of people didn't care that we let Breland go. I still think that was a mistake. but
he was a proven talent.
Yeah.
You know, they made no effort to retain
Right.
him. They drafted him. They developed him. He was a legitimate starter, and they just let him walk without even an
and
effort.
they did that with 3 or 4 guys this year.
Spencer Long.
Yeah, Spencer Long.
Ryan, as much as I make fun of Ryan Grant, you know, he was a serviceable backup,
Right.
you know, at a minimum, at least, who they made no effort to keep.
Trent Murphy, a good backup when he's healthy, you know. And now I understand those guys also went and got big money elsewhere. Like,
And maybe they would have anyway, but, you know,
Yeah.
did you make an effort? You know, particularly Breland.
Right.
I mean, Breland's the guy that I think they could have used. You know, they like Moreau, they like Dunbar, but, I mean, come on. You know, don't just let talent walk.
Or going back a year further, the whole Pierre Garçon thing. They didn't even give him a phone call to see if he was interested in staying a Redskin. You know?
Which I don't understand.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, at least talk.
Right.
You know, and maybe Pierre says, I love you guys, but I want $40 million. And you go, okay, well, have a nice career, but at least ask.
Yeah. My
God.
You should be on the phone with every free agent on your team, I feel like, at 5 minutes after the season ends.
I mean, if they've played well, at least.
Well, yeah,
you know,
okay.
I wouldn't have been on the phone with, Albert Hainsworth necessarily.
Oh, no, I would have been on the phone to tell him to go to hell, you know?
Jump in the lake.
Yeah.
But I understand your
Right.
point. You're right.
I'm, you know me, I'm big on people should dialogue, and, you know, even if it doesn't work out, you should have that dialogue with all your players, and it sounds like...
But it doesn't take an NFL GM to understand that point.
No.
Dialogue
It takes
and
being a
talk
normal
is
human
good.
being to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe that's not what Bruce is, apparently.
Maybe he's a cyborg.
Right.
He's a lying, unprepared cyborg.
Right.
Bruce Allen is a lying, unprepared cyborg and other stuff.
And now we have the photo of the show.
Here you go.
No, it'll be...
Forget Ernest. No, we have to have Ernest Byner.
Yeah, it'll be...
I just ruined a good line, unfortunately.
That's all right. Maybe I'll do that as a Photoshop just for fun, and we'll just put it out there.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. It's kind of depressing to think about that. I don't know. Do we want to end on that, or do we want to just make fun of Dan Snyder taking photos of himself? And
It is such a petty thing. I think it's hilarious. I mean, what kind of billionaire has time to remember that letter existed and then think to send? Because I know PR didn't do that.
No.
PR didn't say, okay, we're going to send a FU photo to some random fan who wrote us a fan letter. So that had to come from Dan. I mean, it had to come from Mr. Snyder.
well,
and how
at
petty
least
is
somebody
that?
in, like his assistant. Like, you had to get to that
Somebody,
level.
yeah.
Thanks for
Just
your
at
letter.
minimum-
Here's a photo of Dan Snyder. Sorry we didn't sign
you
Kirk.
You could have sent the kid a letter and said, thanks for your letter. We appreciate your input, but we signed Alex Smith and we're happy about it. And HTTR.
Yeah.
Signed Dan Snyder. Wouldn't that have been a better? I mean,
Yes. You just did a better job than Dan Snyder.
we're never going to get another player on the show again after this. But
That's all right. We'll get ex-players. They're better anyway.
we'll stick with that.
Yeah. Well, I think that should wrap up this show. It's been a good show. The last two have been really good, even though it's only been you and I.
Yeah.
This was a lot of
We've
fun
muddled
because
through
we got to pepper Ernest with our questions and not listen to anybody else.
I could have talked to Ernest for 2 hours.
Yeah, seriously. Just let's go back through his stuff real quick just so people know what to do. Go to earnestbyner21.com, buy his book, buy his next book, Everyone Fumbles, and what did he say the other one was going to be? Fumbling. It's another fumbling. Fumble Recovery.
Fumble Recovery is the title, and he said it was going to be out soon on his website. Looks like he's publishing that himself.
Yeah, that's what people do now. Healing Dogs, the veterans work that he's doing, again, all for that. And the original dog.
Buy some snacks.
Yeah, buy some snacks. Steve, go buy those cheese things. Those sounded really good.
They sounded good, man.
Yeah.
He was. I was not kidding. He was making me hungry.
Yeah. Well, I need to eat lunch. So, with that, everyone keep following us on social media, on the Twitters and whatnot. And
Draft is next week.
Draft
kids.
is
We're
next
excited.
week.
Oh, what we're gonna do for the draft? We are not gonna do any kind of bumper show between the rounds.
No.
That's too much brain damage. We will live tweet the draft and we will cover it, as best we can. But we will do one post draft show some point after.
Yeah,
round
sometime
7.
Sunday probably. Because
for release on our normal Monday.
Yeah,
is my
hopefully.
point. Yeah.
Unless we recorded it like Sunday at midnight.
Which we might.
Yeah.
But don't look for a bumper show. 10 minutes. We're not doing that.
No. We have lives. It's my anniversary, so I'm going to be doing I have to pay attention to my wife. So,
At least a little bit.
Yep. All right, guys. Hope you enjoy yourselves out there. Have a good week.